But to me, this had all the signs of an impending writing collapse. But there are storytelling choices here that feel awkward and ham-fisted to me. There is a lot to like here. It also has problems that I don't see many people talking about right now, and which I think are gonna get worse. X-Men the Animated Series is special to me. If they with it, you can be damn sure I'll be there to tell everyone why and how it doesn't work. Believe me, I hope I'm f***ing wrong about this, and the rest of the season knocks my socks off. If it does, I'll gladly eat humble pie on this one. But if it plays out like I'm afraid it will, buckle up, because this could get ugly. It's complicated. Well guys, we made it. It's the season finale of X-Men 97, and it has been one crazy ride. This season has stressed me out, caused me no end of anxiety. I may have had a bout of depression along the way. Also, I had a lot of issues with the first two parts of this three-parter, so as you might have guessed, my expectations for this final episode weren't all that high. Frankly, they were about 10 feet below the septic tank, and my hopes for them to cap off the season in a positive way were pretty much gone by the time Wednesday rolled around. But to my surprise, I came away from this finale feeling pretty good. Now, I gotta be honest, because that's what we do here. The first half of this episode is an absolute f***ing mess, and the second half, while better, is still messy. But even with all that being the case, there was something that kind of redeemed it for me. And I know what you think I'm gonna pin that on, and yes, that is part of it, but it's more than just that, because this episode restored something that I talked about in the last video. Something that, to me, has been very lacking this season, especially in the back half. Hope. This season has felt oppressively dark and bleak a lot of the time, and with a lot of the storytelling being shoddy and trying to force characters into positions that they shouldn't be in, or having them act out of character and whatnot just to fit that dark and bleak narrative, it was beginning to feel punishing to watch. And even though that was still an issue in this episode, at least we finally got some catharsis for all this pain and misery, and the promise of some positive things on the horizon, and that means a lot. That all being the case though, I'm not saying this episode was great. Oh my goodness, did it have problems. It begins by confirming my fears that the writers had no idea how to get out of the corners they'd written themselves into. That giant EMP should have crippled the entire world's technological infrastructure and caused the deaths of hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. There's a reason why I was saying things like, how do you recover from this? I have no idea how you fix this. Because realistically, you can't. Even taking Magneto's attempted genocide off the table, the entire world is still f***ed at that point. I couldn't even begin to figure how the writers would actually deal with these consequences, and turns out they didn't either. Because in the opening minutes of this episode, they just walked the whole thing back. Xavier just takes control of Magneto's mind and turns the power back on for the whole world easy peasy. But that is not how EMPs work, writers. Don't try to weasel your way out of something like this and expect me to take you seriously. And that wasn't the only time I would call bullshit times 1,000 here either. So, buckle up. In the process of doing this, I guess Xavier kind of broke Magneto's psyche, because he was so sane before this, right? And now there's a risk of his brain just shutting down or something. And what an awful travesty that would be. So big chunks of this episode are spent with Xavier talking to Mags telepathically trying to fix this. Because even after Mags murdered millions of people and seemed dead set on murdering every other living thing on Earth, including his own children, by the way, Chuck still thinks the kill 'em all and let God sort 'em out guy can be reasoned with. And at this point, I'm like, writers, just let both of them die. I am beyond sick of the Magneto wankfest, and Xavier's idealism has become so cartoonishly rigid, it's downright suicidal. Frankly, the show would be better off without either of these asshats at this point. So there were quite a few of these scenes, and I had no patience for it. I kind of zoned out during them, just counting the minutes until they were over. And just for the record, there were some not so subtle undertones here that I don't think I was imagining, and one moment towards the end wherein if they had kissed, it wouldn't have surprised me. Make of that what you will. Anyway, right after Chuck mind Magneto to save the world, he's now trying to save Magneto, the man who wanted to doom the entire human and mutant race, even going so far as to risk being trapped in Mags's mind with him when it shuts down. And it's so tiresome and frustrating because I knew the whole time how this was gonna play out. The former showrunner is so damn thirsty for Magneto, he just can't help himself. I couldn't wait for this shit to be over. Meanwhile, Bastion has taken down and captured Gold Team, including Storm, who somehow, someway, is not dead. Are you f***ing kidding me? Watch that scene from part 2 again. See right here? This is how high Storm fell from after the Sentinels shot her down. She's above the cloud layer. That's a height of several thousand feet. This would be like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. How is she alive? How? I have no idea, but the invincible plot armor was cranked up so damn high in this episode it practically became self-aware. The Prime Sentinels have all been turned back on now, and they're attacking things all over the world. The White House, Wakanda, New York. It seems like there's nothing that can stop them, and nothing can, which is another corner the writers had no idea how to get out of, so they flip the Deus Ex Machina switch again, and Jean becomes the Phoenix. But not permanently, mind you, because then the good guys would win and the episode would be over. No, it's completely f***ing random, and it's only for a minute. Just long enough for the writers to get out of this particular corner, and then they're done with it. Easy as you please. Phoenix disables all the Sentinels on Earth, again, gets the inhibitor headband thing on Bastion, rips all the mutant DNA that Sinister used to enhance himself out of his body, that probably should have killed Sinister, I'm not sure why it didn't, breaks the hold he has over Cable, and then, before she can fix any of the other problems they're currently facing, the Phoenix just goes away with no explanation. What? This was one of the biggest, most ridiculous, transparent cop-outs I've seen in years. So, can Jean just become the Phoenix every time the X-Men are in a tight spot? Is that something we have to deal with now? Because that's kind of stupid. And it's one of the big reasons why I've never liked the Phoenix being so overused in the comics. Bastion isn't down yet though. In fact, for some reason, he seems more powerful now even with the inhibitor. In a brutal moment, holy shit, he rips off Cable's cybernetic arm, beats the crap out of Cable with his own arm, then assimilates the tech to make himself stronger, and flies off to Asteroid M, planning to hurl it into the Earth and cause another extinction level event. So basically, Bastion and Magneto have the exact same plan with the exact same outcome, and yet somehow the show is gonna bend over backwards to forgive Magneto at the end of this.
Bitch, please.
For f***'s sake. And the bullshit keeps on coming. Up on Asteroid M, Magneto is not only alive, but looking surprisingly healthy. One would think that after getting impaled through the back and out through the stomach by Wolverine's claws, if Magneto somehow didn't bleed out, he'd definitely have grievous internal injuries bad enough to kill him in minutes, if not sooner. But no. No. No, of course not. They just bandaged him up, and he's okay. He's just got a little boo-boo, nothing he can't walk off. Also, Rogue and Sunspot are magically back with the X-Men now. Absolutely nothing. Nothing was made of them betraying the team to the genocidal madman. There were no consequences for their actions whatsoever, and if there was even a conversation about that, it happened off-screen. It's so annoying. The writers did all this shit for plot reasons, but they never had any ideas for how to actually deal with it afterward, so they just took it all back like it never happened. Why'd you even do it in the first place then? I'm sorry, but I can't stand writing like this. They just do what's convenient at any given time, and as soon as it stops working for them, they gloss it over, forget about it, and move on. It's so fucking lazy. God, it drives me nuts. Anyway, Bastion's inbound. Blue team will have to fight him now. Sunspot takes this moment to try to make nice with Jubilee again, still thinking that somehow makes up for ditching her for the genocidal psychopath. If some asshole did that to me, I'd never even want to look at them again. Jubilee, do us all a favor. Do the show a favor and firework this dipshit in the nuts. Seriously. This character. Now, thankfully, this is where the episode starts getting better. Bastion shows up and BAM! We finally get Rogue doing what she should have f***ing been doing in episode 9, getting some goddamn justice. His name was Gambit. Remember it. Pow! She knocks Bastion into next week and it is amazing. It's one of the most cathartic moments of the whole season. It is kind of ruined though when she's going so batshit on this guy that they get blasted out into open space and somehow they can still breathe. I guess the reason is that they're close enough to the blue area of the moon, which does have an atmosphere, and that's where they land, but a single word of explanation would have been nice. They land in some kind of alien cityscape, and right there, plain as day, is a big old stone carving of the face of Apocalypse. File that one away for later. Bastion starts overpowering Rogue at this point, but she gets saved by Sunspot of all people, because he's some kind of badass now. You if you think I bought that in any way, shape, or form. That was one of the biggest bullshit moments of an episode that featured quite a lot of bullshit. But Bastion has no tolerance for more bullshit, so he overpowers the two of them, then moves on to the rest of Blue Team. And this fight is damn good. All the characters get a moment to shine here, and the one who nails Bastion the best is Jubilee, which was pretty cool. The bastard just won't stay down though, but reinforcements show up when Gold Team, minus Forge and Cable, smash through the ceiling. Why is there no explosive decompression? It's a f***ing space station piloting a commandeered Sentinel, which they established that Beast could do in the first episode. So the whole team is there now, but Cyclops finally realizes that they're not gonna beat this guy by fighting him, and instead tries to reason with him. I guess the idea is that Magneto's way didn't work, hashtag Magneto was wrong, so they're gonna try Xavier's way. Not that that's been very effective so far either. Now the backstory is that Xavier tried to bring Bastion into the X-Men as a kid, but his mom wouldn't allow it and then lied to Bastion about what happened, and I guess all of Bastion's issues kind of stem from that. So Scott's trying to hash all this out with words, and it's not clear if it's working, but Bastion is at least talking to him when all of a sudden they see a bunch of missiles approaching outside. Because President Kelly activated the Magneto protocols, a bunch of safeguards the US government put in place for the next time Magneto inevitably reverted to form. The thing is though, these protocols are really stupid. Shooting a bunch of missiles at him? That's the exact same f***ing thing that didn't work the last time you clowns were afraid of Asteroid M. Oh my god. Don't get me wrong, I love America, but we have some of the dumbest goddamn politicians on Earth, and apparently it's no different in the comics. But Magneto's taking a nap right now, so the missiles do their job this time, assuming their job was to knock Asteroid M out of orbit and send it crashing down to Earth.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
The whole place is coming apart. Bastion seemingly gets vaporized in all the explosions, but there's no body, so to be continued. Jubilee gets blown out into space, but don't worry, she can still breathe. Somehow, Sunspot catches her, and then I guess they just fly back to Earth, even though they're supposed to be closer to the moon than Earth, so that should be kind of a really f***ing long flight. We're looking at yet another extinction level event when this asteroid crashes to Earth, so the X-Men pool all their powers together to try to stop this thing, while Jean and Scott contact Cable telepathically so Scott can say goodbye to his son, as they're likely not gonna survive. It's a really nice scene. Scott makes peace with repeating his father's mistakes. Cable has accepted Jean as part of his family by now. It's one of the more earned moments in a season that unfortunately had a lot of unearned stuff. While this is happening, Morph is watching over Wolverine, who's still in really bad shape. He's calling out for Jean, so Morph comforts him by turning into Jean and telling Logan that she loves him, which we've since gotten confirmation was Morph confessing his own feelings to Logan, which was a pretty clever way of doing that actually. And I feel like some people might make too big a deal out of this. I'm indifferent to it. Again, Morph was created for the show. You're not violating any canon here, so if you want Morph to be in love with Wolverine, fine, go ahead, I don't care. No one's saying Logan's gonna feel the same way, and Morph's a shapeshifter, so there are ways to make it less weird. Even with all the X-Men's powers working together, it's still not enough. And this is where I get pissed off again, because it's so obvious how this was going to end. The former showrunner is so obsessed with Magneto, it was always inevitable that it would go this way, and the episode is so much stupider for it. Stopping the asteroid from killing everyone should have been a team effort, but instead the team effort fails, and then Magneto just wakes wakes up and stops the asteroid all by himself because that's just how we roll on Magneto 97, guest starring the X-Men. Yeah, after what feels like a f***ing eternity, Xavier finally reasons with Magneto, and just like that, he's a good guy now. Apparently, all is forgiven for the attempted genocide and the millions of murders he committed last week. I'm not even being sarcastic, that really is how this comes off. Because no matter how many horrific things Magneto does, this show will always bend over backwards to let him off the hook so he never has to be held accountable for anything. At least until season 3 when they'll have a new showrunner. So Magneto stops the asteroid from destroying the world, lifts it back into the sky, and everyone on the ground cheers because yay for Magneto saving us from the apocalyptic world-ending danger that he put us in the first place. Woohoo! Jesus Christ. And then, from out of nowhere, Asteroid M just, poof, disappears into thin air, which apparently there's a whole lot of in outer space, because comic books. 6 months later, the X-Men are still missing, Graydon Creed is running for president, and I'd say that a one-dimensional, hateful, spiteful piece of garbage like him would have no chance of ever getting elected, but who the hell am I kidding? That would be the most realistic thing to ever happen in this franchise. Forge is still around, he's spent all this time searching for the X-Men and come up with nothing. There's hints that he might be trying to put together a new team though, stay tuned on that, please Emma Frost, please Emma Frost. But then Bishop appears and tells him that someone or something pulled the X-Men through time. Probably the same person or thing that split up Bishop and Baby Nathan, but that's a question for season 2. And season 2 is what they're setting up here, because the team wind up at different points in the timeline which are all relevant to Apocalypse. Storm, Morph, and Wolverine are unaccounted for right now, but Scott and Jean are in the far future with the Ascani where they meet teenage Cable, while Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Xavier, and because the writers are sadistic pricks who love torturing me, Magneto, I don't want to wind up in ancient Egypt where they meet En Sabah Nur. So it looks like season 2 is going to be incorporating elements from a bunch of different Apocalypse stories, which I'm totally down for, but for the love of God, don't do Age of Apocalypse. Just don't. No more alternate timeline multiverse shit, please. I'm so burned out on that stuff.
I'd rather get a high colonic with a hot poker.
So I like this a lot. I'm very glad that we're doing Apocalypse next instead of Onslaught. Onslaught might be coming later, but the setup they had here with all the chaos post-EMP, post-Genosha, Apocalypse makes way more sense for that situation. Really good cliffhanger. It raises a lot of questions. It sets up some tantalizing stuff for season 2. I am very salty that they couldn't turn Magneto into a f***ing vegetable for a while like in the comics, because holy moly would I appreciate a break from him. But otherwise, I'm very intrigued. But we're not done quite yet. There's a mid-credit stinger that really caps this thing off just right. We go back to Genosha in the present day where we see a mysterious figure, spoiler, it's Apocalypse, in the giant crater where a certain X-Man heroically sacrificed himself to stop the Sentinel attack. He fishes Gambit's Queen of Hearts playing card out of the dirt and says,
"So much pain, my children. So much death."
Boom! That's how we get Gambit back. Apocalypse has the technology to resurrect the dead, that's well established. Gambit was the Horseman of Death in the comics at one point. They teased this very thing in several episodes. It all makes sense. And if Apocalypse is looking to get his new 4 horsemen from the Genosian victims, then maybe we could get some of those other characters back too. Characters like Madeline and Dazzler, who were killed off so suddenly and in such huge numbers that it just felt wasteful. This is great. I love this idea. And for me, it was the perfect way to end the season because it finally gave us back that hope that's been sorely lacking here. Now we have hope that good things are coming. Now we have hope that we can get some of these beloved characters back. Hope that they weren't killed off just for senseless tragedy porn. Hope has always been essential to the X-Men lore, and I haven't been feeling it in this show for weeks, but now I do. And the setup for Deathbit is already way better than it ever was in the comics. So they could do something really cool with this. I'm excited now. And not just about that, the setup for this whole story looks really interesting. The X-Men are split up across 3 different time periods, past, present, future, and each group is going to be dealing with a different version of Apocalypse. But what does that mean? Think about the possibilities, like maybe how the X-Men handle Apocalypse in one time period will affect the other 2 somehow and vice versa. This is a really compelling idea. The finale may have had a lot of problems, and I stand by everything I said about parts 1 and 2, but this cliffhanger was a fucking mic drop. And all told, I don't think the show stuck the landing completely with this season, but after what they did at the end there, I do think they narrowly averted a crash. And given how I was feeling in the days leading up to this finale, that's not too bad. And that was season 1 of X-Men 97. So what's the final verdict? Honestly, I'm really torn. I know I tended to zero in on the stuff I was critical of. I know it seems as if I was bashing the show a lot of the time, but that's just how my brain works. Overall, I think my feelings on the show now are about the same as they were when it started. There's a lot to love about it, and it also has problems that I struggled to get past. I will say the pacing issues got better as the season went on. They weren't fixed, not completely, but they got better, though they really need to do longer episodes in season 2. That would help a lot. I talked early on about how the characters felt a little bit off. For some of them that got better and for some it got worse. And this had a lot to do with the quality of the stories they got, or lack thereof. I think Cyclops was one of the bigger success stories of the season. In my opinion, this is the best adaptation of Cyclops we've gotten in any X-Men media in a really long time. Jean was also treated very well, minus the Deus Ex Machina with the Phoenix that came right the hell out of nowhere. Beast didn't get much to do, but what he did get felt right, so I was happy with that. It seemed like they didn't know what to do with Storm. She was treated respectfully, I guess, but her story didn't get enough time, and it made no sense why she was off screen for so long. Outside of that one scene setting up the Bone Claw story for season 2, Wolverine was in the background all season, and honestly, that I'm fine with. Logan gets focused on so much in other X-Men media. He definitely got more than his share of the spotlight in the 90s cartoon, so to have him take a step back while they focus on other characters for a change was actually pretty refreshing. Morph, not much to say there, but there are no comic stories to adapt for Morph, so be glad you got literally anything with this guy. Nightcrawler didn't really have a story, but they made him so endearing and charming and cool, I didn't even mind. I love the stuff with him and Rogue, him and Gambit, him and Wolverine, and I really hope he stays on the team. Jubilee I liked, but she wasn't treated the best. Unfortunately, she was the spotlight of the most pointless filler episode of the season, and the stuff with her and Sunspot I just wanted to fast forward through. Sunspot, the most annoying, worthless character of the entire show. He didn't fit in, he didn't work in any way, had no chemistry with Jubilee at all. Get him off my fucking screen. Gambit, while we didn't get much time with him, was great and the breakout character of the best episode of the season, and even though how the writers dealt with the fallout of that was questionable, this show has made Gambit a fucking star again, and that's pretty damn cool. Would have been nice if they could have done that without killing him after 5 episodes, but at least we know we're getting him back now. Rogue, sadly, is a character the writers just never really understood, and she was the biggest victim of the way the stories were structured. I'll talk about that in a minute. Xavier, I had kind of grown to dislike by the end of the season. I guess his idealism was ultimately proven to be the right path to walk, but when you're still trying to reason with the guy whose moments away from ending all life on Earth and has no qualms about killing his own children in the process, it just makes me want to smack you in the face. And then there's Magneto, who, in my opinion, was the root of so many things about this season that just flat out did not work. I hated this entire Magneto story. Xavier leaving the school to him made Charles look like the biggest delusional idiot on Earth. His redemption was flimsy as hell. It never convinced me for a second. The awful relationship with Rogue that they retconned into the backstory when it was obviously never a thing. How the show kept glossing over and whitewashing every single bad thing he ever did, no matter how horrible it was. I mean, for God's sake, he tried to literally destroy the world in one episode, and in the very next episode got the hero treatment. The showrunner had such a ridiculous blind spot and bias for Magneto, and it tainted everything the character touched. And when so much of the show's narrative is built around that character from the jump, that's gonna really hurt you. But what I think tripped them up the most was how the stories were constructed. I appreciate that they were sticking close to the comics, since God knows the movies haven't been doing that, but it seemed like so much of this season was about getting to specific moments they wanted to adapt, but maybe doing too many of those moments and not having much care for how they got there or what to do afterward. Like, obviously, a lot of this was to build up to Fatal Attractions where Wolverine gets his adamantium ripped out, but the journey getting there was really awkward because they were cramming in so many other things, like OZT, like Asteroid M, like E for Extinction, and had characters and roles it didn't make sense for them to be in, so a lot of it wasn't developed or followed up on on properly, and in some cases wasn't followed up on at all. And then once they'd done it, many of those things were immediately walked back. Like they had Rogue betray the X-Men and join Magneto's genocide campaign because she's filling the Colossus role in that story, even though it's not something Rogue herself would ever do. And then after they've adapted the story, she's instantly back on the team like the betrayal never happened. Magneto is very clear about wanting to murder every living thing on Earth. Rogue and Sunspot decide they want in on that. Then one episode later, here comes Bastion, who's trying to do literally the exact same thing, and Rogue and Sunspot are fighting against him. Because now that the moment the writers wanted to do has passed, their actions and decisions before that moment don't really matter anymore. The giant EMP should have had catastrophic ramifications for the whole world, but then once it's set up what they wanted it to set up, they just turn the power back on like magic, so that doesn't matter anymore either. Magneto wants to destroy the world and murders millions of innocent people so the writers can do Fatal Attractions, but once they've done it, he's right back on the good guy's side like he didn't just commit the biggest mass murder in history. Do you see what I'm getting at here? The writers wanted to do specific stories and big moments, but they weren't interested in dealing with the fallout of them. So more often than not, they'd just reset things, move on to the next story or the next big moment, and it would happen all over again. Now, it didn't happen in every single case. The Scott Jean Cable story was a lucky exception, but so many of the events of the season were hurt by this. And that's a fucking shame. And there was a lot of stuff like that. The problem is, the plot was driving the characters instead of the other way around. The writers had plots they wanted to do, and the characters had to conform to those plots, even if it meant acting out of character or violating the continuity of the 90s cartoon. Rogue especially was hurt so much by this stuff it made me furious. Rogue spent most of this season acting out of character because she was so often only doing what the plot needed her to do. And if said plot was ill-conceived or just plain bad, reference everything involving her and Magneto, then her story just became really fucked up. But there is a lot of good here too. The voice cast is tremendous. The action is fantastic. The animation was a bit spotty at first, but got over that hump real quick. I like that they're tackling more mature subjects than the original series was ever allowed to. The cameos are amazing. This episode, good God, it was like a cameo orgy. I couldn't even count them all. Even though they make a lot of changes sometimes, I do appreciate them having reverence for the comics. While they made me hate certain characters, they made me love others. Them retconning things about the original show is always going to be difficult to accept, but if that's the price I need to pay to have these characters back, I feel like I can pay it. I just want certain characters to get better treatment and not be twisted into something they shouldn't be by certain people in the writer's room. Bottom line, X-Men 97 is not perfect, and I don't think it ever will be, but a week ago, I was dreading this finale, and I came away from it feeling like they'd managed to steer the ship away from the iceberg. So this season did cause me a lot of anxiety, and it absolutely has things it needs to work on, but looking back on the whole thing, I feel better about it than I thought I would. Granted, I did have the bar set pretty low. So I'll be sticking with the show. I'll be back for season 2. I look forward to rewatching parts of season 1 in the future, and I'm very relieved that I can say that. I'm not gonna give this season a grade though. Maybe that's a cop-out on my part, but there were so many high highs and low lows and everything in between here. I feel like all 3 notches on my grading scale apply at the same time. Hopefully it won't make a habit of that in the seasons to come. So that'll do it. Thanks to all you guys for sticking with these X-Men 97 videos, and now it's time to move on to summer movie season, which, with any luck, will be a lot less stressful than this has been. Stay tuned. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And don't forget to do all the other YouTube things. Hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more real soon. See you next time.